Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Crimson Chronicles podcast as we finish our conversation with former Alabama place kicker Peter Kim.
Peter, I got a question for you.
Sure.
You've been a very successful businessman for over 40 years now. Played for Coach Bryant, really count your redshirt year for 4 years. Uh, he had to have taught you many lessons. What off the field lessons did you learn from him?
You know, there are so many things that I have learned from Coach Brian off the field. He always talked about before practice, after practice, talked about life after football. Of course, I was 21, 22 years old, did not understand what he meant by life after football. He always told us that you think 2 days is hard, you try to go out in a cold world and try to make earn the salary and working for a company is not an easy thing to do, so that really didn't dawn me till when I got cut by Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 times in 2 years. And when you come out of the facility driving home, you feel really nobody to really blame but yourself. It's a very lonely moment. And and then you try to go out and find a job. It wasn't easy, but all the teachings that we learned from Coach Bryant really helped us keep moving forward. We never move backwards. We move forward with it, with a positive thinking that we can do it, the confidence and things of nature, and gave me encouragement when I knock on the executive office. I was never scared to go in. Of course, you're a little intimidated at times, but then you say, you know what? I did play for Coach Bryant. I played for the best. I came from the best program in the country. I can do this. So I kind of utilize it that way. And the sometimes doesn't go your way in business. I always go back to the basics, what Coach Bryant said. That's the reason why I created this brand called, I want to show you this cup here.
Sure.
I created like 9 different concepts, and this is one of the brand, the first brand that I did. And you can see the quotes over here, expect the unexpected, quote by Coach Brian, and we have if you believe in yourself and have dedication and pride and never quit, you will be a winner. So I printed on this my
That's
brand
great.
in
That's
Hawaii.
amazing.
So
That's
we're
great.
serving all of our core drinks with this cup. And when people look at it, they think, "Wow, what is this?" But they can put two and two together. They know that I played at Alabama, and I think young people appreciate this. I was
Sure.
hoping that I was helping the young people and people who struggles. Hey, if you believe in this, you can make things happen. And same
That's
thing happened to me.
fantastic.
I mean,
Wow.
same thing happened to me. I struggled a little bit after I got released by Tampa, and got into a little business and didn't do too well. It was a partnership in Memphis, Tennessee, trading cotton. So that's when I decided, you know what? I'm not a businessman. I'm not cut out to be a businessman. So I decided to come home and take a test to become a special agent for FBI and Treasury Department. So I took the test and I passed, and they put me on a security clearance stage. And I was born in Korea, so they said it will take about 180 days, 6 months. And that's when my family, my father and my sister wanted to start this brand, Yummy Korean Barbecue. And when I got in and I said, I got 6 months to kill, so I help you guys. So I looked at their lease and the things that nothing was moving for 90 days, and their due date was like in 60 days. So you know what? I'm gonna help you. So I actually built this restaurant, all on my own. Hiring the contract, running the permits, and when I went into the building department, it's very difficult. But I beg everybody. I say, hey, this is my first time I do it. But it all came from Coach Brian's influence. If you want it bad enough, you're gonna find the way to do it. So I learned, and we did it. and we opened the store on time. And like I said, it's all about what I learned from playing football. And we got it open. And first day we said, if we do $700 a day, this was 1986. It's a big success. We opened the first store in my residential area where I graduated from high school. So I knew a lot of people. They were very excited that I'm opening a store. They gave a lot of media coverage and everything. So guess what we did first day, 1986, August 12th, $3,000 a day. It was a huge success, from $700 to $3,000 a day. As a whole family was involved. It was a happy problem that we had, right? And then I have six sisters. We have a large family, and we're an immigrant family, so nobody was doing really, really well, So the second store came about 3 months after. There was another store that we opened in 6 months later. That was a turning point for me to stay in Hawaii. That was a major shopping center being developed. Everybody wanted to get in there. And there were a lot of veteran companies who qualifies more than our company. So nobody thought that we could get in. So anyhow, the second store was born in 90 days, and that was a successful too. But the third store was the key reason that I decided to stay in Hawaii. But in order for me to get that space locked in, I dress like in Alabama, tie, coat, and going to the leasing office, cold, knocking in. I wanted to see the, director of leasing, and then they thought that I all had appointments with him. So they said, "Oh, you have a seat." They asked, "What time's your appointment?" "Oh, I don't have an appointment." They said, "Oh, no, he's not in." You know. So that went on for like more than 10, 12 times. Each time I leave a name and that I will be back. So on the sixth visit, I remember I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna quit." And then, like I said, never quit here. I said, "I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see to the bottom of it." So I went back 6 more times, and finally I got a call from the gentleman. Egan Nishimoto. He was the leasing director. It's Ala Moana Center, busiest shopping center in the United States, open air shopping center. Very difficult to get in those years. So he saw my desire, wanted to do good. I didn't have much experience. There were other companies who were a lot more experienced than we were. But somehow he saw something in me, and then he gave me a chance, and we had a huge success. And then 3 days after that I opened that store, I got a call from Treasury Department. They're going to place me in Los Angeles. So her name was Joanne Connor, okay? So I told her what my situation was with the family business. I said, "I'll call you back in 90 days. But the truth of the fact is, I went to dinner with her 25 years later. So
Really?
we did get hooked up. That's
Wow.
the story of my restaurant tour business. So yeah, so I developed, besides this, uh, seven other concepts. We now own 7 concepts, and we own and operate. So yeah.
Wow.
What?
I mean, did I confuse you going through the?
No. What an amazing story. Good grief.
So
Well, hey, I'm gonna.
we currently own the humbly speaking, the best steakhouse in state of Hawaii. I wanted to say that. We sit about 330 people. We're located at the rooftop of the hotel, so we have a panoramic ocean view, sunset every night. And that's one thing that I kind of regret, that as much as Alabama football and basketball came out to Hawaii, Coach Moore, he came out several times, and I look up to him very, very much. And he didn't get to come to my steakhouse. That's one of the things that I kind of regret about. But we do have a lot of the visitors coming from Alabama to Honolulu. They always stop by. and I usually go by and say hello to them. So
Well, as I mentioned before our interview started, Peter, my wife and son and I had the honor of coming to your house in 2002 when
right,
Alabama played Hawaii,
right.
and Jim Neighbors was there, and we got to visit with him and just had a great time. You were so hospitable to all the Alabama folks, and we've always appreciated that. And now you've got me wanting to come back just to go to your
Yeah,
steakhouse.
I
you
was
gotta
going to
come.
say, Tommy, I think that's the excuse to have to go to Hawaii, right? Like I
Yeah,
need to
That's
go to
right.
the best steakhouse in Hawaii.
exactly. I also bring interns from University of Alabama every
Mm,
year, two of them who
Wow.
fully paid
wow.
lodging, food, and then we also pay them as well. And I have to tell you, we learn a lot from these young folks from University of Alabama.
Mm,
And this year they're coming in on June 1st for 8 weeks. Yeah, they're coming in for 8 weeks, and I very much look forward to have them. And in fact, the person who's in charge of operations in our company is from Alabama, Alabama graduate, and she was our first class of intern. That she was so smart and a very very unique. I knew she was going to be succeed no matter what she does.
yeah.
And I told her my company at the time was not big enough for her. I said, when you graduate, when you don't find anything really excite you, call me, right? So July of that year, she calls me. She goes, Mr. Kim, I wanted to work for you. I said, why? She goes, nobody gives me enough responsibilities. I said, do
Oh.
you
Mm.
want response? I have a planet to give to you. So now she runs our entire operations. So she controls about almost 700 people, and
Wow.
she's a young girl and does a wonderful job. You know, so
So great. Hey,
yeah.
Peter, let me take you back to your playing days for a few more minutes. When you think about guys that you played with or maybe coaches outside of Coach Bryant, who would be somebody you would point out and say they really had a shaping influence on your life? Maybe somebody who had a quiet influence and uh, changed you in some way.
You know, I have to tell you, Coach Donahue is one of them. Uh, when I was playing, and the Coach Moore is another person that really influenced me into the right directions and a lot of encouragement. And they were the true leaders of Alabama football. And I said it earlier, like Stephen Shealy, he's a milestone as a human being. He's someone that you would not hesitate to contact or reach out to him. If you need some help. And I know he will never will deny you. So we were more of a family than anything else. Like Coach Moore was. He always had an open arm, and I spent a lot of time with Coach Moore. During the football season, but he always carried like tickets like this in his pocket, like 2 hours before the game. And some guy just called last minute, hey coach, I wanted to come. He dished out the tickets. It was a big old family, it's a football
Mm-hmm.
family. And I think recent years, Coach Moore was the one that, after Coach Bryant, he kind of pulled everybody together as a family. I think that was the reason why we turned the program around 2004, starting 2004, and what football is all about at Alabama today. After Coach Bryant, Coach Saban, you know, I think it has a lot to do with the Coach Moore's leadership. I think Tommy, you can witness that, can you not?
Oh, yeah. Well, Mal was a great boss.
Yeah.
He became AD in '99 and passed away in 2013. But so I worked for him for about 15 years,
Yeah,
and he was the best.
yeah. I mean,
Really
great
was.
people. Great. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a great people. What I do today, I attribute everything what I do today to Alabama football. The education that I received from the university, Coach Bryant's influence, Coach Moore's influence, Coach Donahue influence, and the fellow players that I had supporting me throughout the years, and we still get together time to time. So it's a good old family that I have.
Well, nothing makes me happier to go to the A Club room before a game. And, I saw you there one game last year, but to
Right.
see all the former players getting together and laughing and smiling, telling stories, and it is quite a fraternity. And every guest we've had on, every one of them talk about the bond of Alabama football. Coach Moore always used to say, you know, there's lions and there's tigers and there's eagles, but there's only one Crimson Tide.
That's right.
You
That's right.
know,
I believe that.
yeah. Rick,
Peter, did you realize that perhaps the impact that your visibility had on young Asian American athletes that were watching Alabama football and thinking maybe that they belonged because they saw you?
I think I have. I coached at St. Louis High School where Tua played, and Tua and I played same high school football coach, Coach Ron Lee. And I was a part-time coach in and out of the school for about 20 some odd years. And there's a guy named Reggie Hall came to my camp, my kicking camp. I think it was 1988. It was kind of early years, 86, 88. I think it was 86 or 88. He was already at Notre Dame, but they would not give him a chance to come out and try out even because he's about 5'5". When he came to my camp, when I said, if he's at the right place at the right time, he'll play. And his heart was bigger than the 6'6" lineman. You're so dedicated, but they would not give him a chance to come out and be even a tryout at Notre Dame. So Coach Lou Holtz was the head coach at the time. I knew he was very much like Coach Bryant. They're looking at the heart, not the size of the players. So I reached out to boy, once again I forgot his our defensive back coach. He coached under Coach Lou Holtz when he was at Arkansas. Oh, Tommy, do you remember him?
Lewis Campbell.
Lewis Campbell.
Okay.
Lewis Campbell. So he was at Oklahoma State at the time. So I called him up, knowing that he knows Coach Lou Holtz. So I asked him, I told him about, Reggie Hall, that little kid wants to get a tryout. So he helped me get hooked up with Notre Dame, right? So we got him on the team, right? That spring, he got on the team. He made the team. He became the MVP of the spring training because of his attitude and desire wants to play and all that. The following year, he became the starter. He started in front of John Connie, all-time NFL best at the time, when he graduated.
Yeah.
He was in charge of kicking everything inside the 40 because he didn't have the distance. He was only about 5'5". He kicked 4 field goals against Michigan that year. They beat him 12-10. They won the national championship that year. And Coach Lou Holtz remembers that. And there's a big Notre Dame alumni contingencies in Hawaii. So they bring Notre Dame folks every year. And one year he was a guest of honor. So one of the guys called me and said, hey, Coach Lou Holtz wants to come up and have a steak at your restaurant. None of us going to be there because he wants to be alone with his wife, have a quiet dinner. So I went up, I introduced myself, and let him know that I play for Coach Bryant. And then he goes, oh yeah, have a seat, let's have a drink. So I told him about the Reggie Ho story. He goes, that's right, that was you. And I mean, we had a blast that evening.
Oh,
He's
wow.
supposed to have a quiet evening. Even his wife enjoyed it. As soon as we say Coach Bryant, they had an open arm, and that's how much Coach Bryant influenced people. And he remembers Reggie Ho winning a national championship. And he wrote me a very, very nice letter after he left. So I influenced him. And then there's another story about this another kid, same high school, St. Louis High School. 5'5" at best. And he was a kicker. And talking about someone that never quits, he got cut at University of Hawaii football team 3 times in 2 years. So when he got cut,
Wow.
not they're only giving 1 day. So I drove up to the campus and I met with the head coach and I told him, I said, can you give him a week? If there is a money to be paid, I'll cover that cost. So they gave him a chance the second time in the same year, and they cut him the very next day.
Hmm.
So what do I do? Even after I met with a head football coach, So I said, well, this is done. I mean, there's nothing more I can do. The following year comes around. That's his senior year. He comes around, rising senior. Spring. He comes up and he goes, Coach, I'm going to try out again. I said, he's going to try out again. I said, wow. But we're told to never say quit, right? So my job was to, how do I influence this kid to quit? Because there's nothing more I could have done. But good things happen to good people. That summer, I got a call from Coach Dick Tomey. Coach Dick Tomey is the one that who recruited me to Hawaii. He never spoke to me for 20 years after I left. After that, we became really good friends. After he retired. So he said he's coming back to Hawaii in charge of the special team. And by then, he and I were really good golf buddies. I said, Coach, I'll pick you up from the airport, but you got to give me 45 minutes. I'm not going to tell you where we're going to go, but you're going to look at this person. So I took him to the St. Louis High School football field directly from the airport. And he kicked 45 kicks, including 52-yarder. He made 43. And I told Coach Tomey about what happened. He got cut 3 times in 2 years and this and that. And he goes, you know what, Peter? I cannot get him on the team, but have him on the sideline, always be ready to come in. So he did that kid, This is spring, rising senior. And he had a, a system where first two starters, they had two kickers. Kick till you miss, right? Kick till you miss. And they both missed the first kicks. And then he called them in. He was not even on the team. He called them in from the sideline that spring. They have to stop him because he made 6 in a row. And he became part of the team. That summer, he became the starter, kicked the winning field goal. And so I influenced a couple of guys, but that kid is amazing, you know. His name was Kenton Chun. So, but anyhow, yeah.
Wow. So, Peter, in the adjustment to life after football, um, did you miss the intensity and the structure that you had at Alabama?
In some respect, time to time, but I don't think so. Whenever tough situation comes up, you always go back to your basics,
Hmm.
you know, and you go back to what you learn on the football field. And I'm still doing that, But uh, it always have been a positive impact based on, and then you feel like you have some backing, even though I'm not at Alabama with the players, but you always feel like there's something behind you to push you, back you up. If you fall, somebody gonna hold you up. That kind of feeling you always have. So it kind of helps me move towards the winning area rather than falling and you become a loser. So those are the positive impact that I have.
Peter, we've kind of touched on this, but even to this day, do you continue to use the lessons Coach Bryant taught you?
Absolutely. Every day of the
Yeah.
week. Every day. Like I said, especially when things get tough, you always try to figure things out. But that positive influence that we have from Coach Bryant, that stays on rest of your life. I still use it every day. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well,
Peter.
Peter, this has been awesome. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead,
I
Rick.
no go ahead. I was just going to ask you if you could go back and if you could go back and talk to Peter Kim, who was walking onto the campus at Alabama as a walk on way back then for the first time, what would you tell him?
You know, if back then I had no fear, right? I had no fear. I just had one way. I have no place to go back to. You gotta make it, right? If I go back today and looking back myself, 1980, 1979, I said that was a pretty bold move.
Hmm.
But you know what? That turned out to be the best decision I have ever made. If I did not go to Alabama in 1979, I wouldn't be here today what I do. So I attribute everything to the years that I was at Alabama. I was a very lucky guy. Yeah. So I thank you all for that too. So
Yeah. Well, Peter, this has been great. Tremendous conversation. Thank you for helping us preserve and share these stories from Alabama football history. And we do want to come out and have some steak at your place.
Absolutely.
please
Um,
do. I mean,
Uh,
I'd love to have you guys.
we would love it, and we need if you're listening to this podcast and you find yourself in Hawaii, you got to go find Peter and go get a steak, right? And hey, thanks for listening and watching the Crimson Chronicles podcast, the internet's only show dedicated to Alabama Crimson Tide sports history. And we thank you for subscribing on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. And if you enjoy what you're hearing, like, comment, share this episode, and let us know what stories you want us to tell next. And for more Crimson Chronicles content, you can find us at bamahistory.com. And so, Peter, we end all of these episodes the same way, and it's really the only appropriate way to close out anything that you do for the Tide, right? We just want to give everybody a big roll Tide.
There you go. Roll Tide.
there we go. Roll Tide.